Must be nice. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to beautiful downtown Grand Forks. This is the Grand Forks City Council's Committee of the Whole for Monday, July 28th. Under item 1, called to order 1.1, welcome and roll call.
Weigel.
Here.
Sowski.
Here.
Berg.
Here.
Lensky.
Here.
Friedels.
Here.
Veen.
Here.
And President Sandy.
I'm here, thank you. Under item number 2, action items 2.1, Grand Forks City Attorney's Office request for special and independent legal counsel.
Yes.
Mr. Attorney, yes, sir.
Thank you. Council President Sandy and members of the committee, we're just simply asking that sometimes conflicts will arise within our office with respect to municipal prosecutions. For example, a client of our firm might be subject to a municipal prosecution. We certainly couldn't handle that, would be an example. So we're just asking for approval to engage in this instance, the city of Fargo. We've reached out to them. They've agreed to serve in that capacity when these conflicts arise. And they've actually been accommodating in that all they'd be asking for is their costs, mileage, those type of things, not charge a fee. If that would happen, the case may get a little bit more protracted. They may request a fee, but can't imagine it would be over the amount, the $50,000 amount that's administratively authorized for administrators to expend up to that amount. But if there was a case that got too protracted, we would bring it back to the council to make sure that that particular case was handled and approved by council. So that's what we're asking for.
Thank you, Mr. Gosted. Any comments or questions?
Move approval.
Mr. Weigel moves
Second.
approval, second by Osowski. Further comments or questions? Yes, Ms. Lensky?
So this is just a blanket agreement? It's not for anything specific?
It's a blanket under the proposal. It's a blanket agreement because we're anticipating, situations that could occur either presently or in the future.
Thank you.
Very good. Further comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Under item 3, discussion items 3.1, application from Grand Forks Children's Museum for site authorization at Rhombus Guys, 312 Kitson Avenue, for a gaming. Comments?
move
or-
approval.
Moved by
I'll
Osowski, second by Berg. Further comments?
I have some comments.
Mr. Weigel, yes, sir.
Ms. Lundmark, I emailed you a little bit earlier today, and Ms. Osowski was really quick on the motion. Just a couple things when I look at our current gaming. I believe we're capped at a nonprofit can have up to 10 sites. Is that correct?
That is correct. We changed that in 2019. Prior to 2019, organizations were capped at 7 sites.
Do you know what other communities are doing?
I do, actually. I reached out to a couple of the other major cities. Fargo caps at 5 permanent sites, and then they allow 1 special event raffle only site per organization. Bismarck caps at 5 sites. And then Minot caps at 8 sites, and then they also allow those organizations to apply for one-day special event licenses that could be occurring at random sites throughout the community, and there's no cap on the number of those.
Sounds good. The one thing I've been thinking about a lot recently is we've heard from our arts communities and other things when we look at these proposed cuts that we've had within the budget is the opportunity for them to get involved in the gaming. When I've looked at, I got the gaming list from you earlier this morning, but I think there's 2 organizations right now that make up 19 sites, if I counted correctly. And so with that cap of 10, I feel like it is very difficult for new organizations to be able to get into the side of the charitable gaming that could obviously help fund their organization. And so personally, I would like to see an opportunity, maybe if the city attorney next week could bring up some of the information so we could have some greater debate on what it would look like if we lowered that cap to 5 gaming sites. Obviously, we would have some time for those organizations that may be over that 5 currently, which I think there's only 2. But I'd also want to look at can we, I know Ms. Osowski talked about it at one of the last ones we brought up, was do we limit it to just Grand Forks? We do have 3 organizations that send their proceeds back down to Fargo. I believe there's one in Thompson. I don't consider that really out of town. I feel like Thompson is South Grand Forks some days. And so that one doesn't bother me as much, but looking at keeping those charitable gaming dollars within our community, keeping those dollars within organizations within our community, I think would go a long way. I know one thing that I would like the city administrator to do for next week, and maybe Maureen too, is I would like to restore the funding that we currently have, or that we had this year for next year for those arts and the human needs. And so I'd like to see the city administrator and Ms. Storstead add those items back in and maybe come back with a plan on how we could do that. But also come with a plan of what it would look like if we were to cap the gaming sites at 5 instead of 10.
Thank you, Mr. Weigel. And Ms. Osowski?
Yeah. I did make a big deal out of that Fargo charity that came down to Grand Forks, and I do have to agree that I would like to see our money stay within our community, especially with the high amount of nonprofits that we have. I guess I have never heard of a nonprofit get turned down for a gaming site, though. I mean, it still is up to the bar owner, you know, or, because it's just 21 and older is where these gaming sites are. So, I mean, I feel bad taking away some of those options. And then, you know, for companies like DHI, who owns their own restaurant and bar, does that count towards their cap? They obviously aren't going to let another charity come in to their own personal space to raise funds. And so I have concerns about that. I don't think that, you know, if the Children's Museum wanted to open a bar, we shouldn't.
And I would agree with you,
You know.
on that. In that scenario, if you own the bar or the restaurant, I would agree that that shouldn't count. Personally, I'm just talking about maybe, and I should have been more clear, items that they aren't owned by
Right.
the actual.
You know, I think
nonprofit.
that the charitable gaming has done a lot of, you know, good in our community. It makes a lot of these nonprofits a little bit more independent and not reliant on our tax dollars, which ultimately, you know, these are non-government agencies and they shouldn't be funded by the government. They should be able to survive on their own. And so when people are out there trying to raise their own funds, it's hard for me to say, oh, no, now we're going to put a cap on it, because I don't want DHI or the Listen Center starting to knock on our door now because we took away their ability to raise funds. And I think that, I mean, DHI and the Listen Center both have a decent amount of money, but they do a good job not, you know, relying on taxpayer funds to fund their nonprofits, which is something that I greatly appreciate. And I would like to know also, like, how many bars within our community actually have gaming? How many are open for gaming? Do these people even want gaming? Are these other organizations, do they even want to get into gaming? Because why put a cap on it when other organizations aren't letting us know that they're struggling to find places to put these? Because if we put caps on them, then we'll have to move maybe some gaming out. And I think that we really need to think about it a little bit more on some of those. So, thank you.
Just quick follow-up.
Yeah, Mr. Weigel.
I agree. I think there's some things to work out. I think that, I think there's a common sense approach to it that obviously if until they have somebody to take over that, I think they should be able to hold on to it, right? If there's no nonprofit knocking on their door saying, hey, essentially what I'd like to see them do is if you have over 5, pick your 5 that you'd like to keep and say there's 2, 3, 4, 5 extra ones that you're willing to let go if a nonprofit approaches and say, hey, we are interested in Rebecca's Bar. then they would have that opportunity to work with the bar or whatever other nonprofits have an opportunity to work with that bar. I'm not saying we rip it out right away and rip the Band-Aid off right away. I think there's we can come up with a common sense approach to getting to that cap, and I'd be willing to work towards that. It's not going to be perfect right off the bat.
Right. I guess, is there anybody in our community complaining that they do not have places to put their nonprofit gaming?
Yes.
Who?
Huh?
Who?
Who?
I asked if anybody in our,
Yes.
and I
There
asked
are
who.
there are multiple nonprofits that want places to put for gaming.
Who are they?
Multiple. Some of them are on the sheet and included in, for example, how about the Grand Forks Blue Line Club? There's nowhere for them to add another site. They would, I guarantee you, they have 4. They would love to add another one, they can't.
The Children's Museum's doing a great job getting
Sure,
places for
they're
their,
also stealing them from other, because they have relationships with the people that are switching, okay?
okay.
They're not stealing, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know,
You know what I
I
mean.
know what you mean. If I owned a bar, though, I would want to support a charity that I personally aligned with. And so by us telling people, oh, no, they're at their cap, they can't have anymore. And I don't know, I think it's too much government for me. We're putting too many rules and regulations on it. And I think it's an open market, and they should be able to go with that. If bar owners don't want to support a certain charity, they shouldn't have to.
Ms. Linsky, why don't you move over a chair?
Yeah, and
Come and sit
I
by
like
us.
the whole half to myself. I just want to point out, Rhombus Pizza is not a bar. You don't have to be 21. So what we're approving tonight is a restaurant. It's just a restaurant, not a bar.
On the second floor, it's 21 and older. It has to be 21 and older for gaming to be there.
Does it?
It's,
Okay, so not the not the full establishment, just.
Ms.
the
Lundmark
area.
will tell you the rules. It's a certain amount of square footage, correct?
So, Council President Sandy, members of the committee, Councilmember Lunsky, with Rhombus Guys, they hold a Class 4 food and beverage alcoholic beverage license. So under that license, they are allowed to designate an area up to 800 square feet, which is 21 and over only. It can be as small as just the area for the gaming machine, but no minors are allowed to be near the machine. They can't go over that 800 square feet.
Okay.
So it has to be a little bit separated, and we have a requirement in our city code for signage that has to be in the area so that people know that that is 21 and over only. According to the map, they're looking at doing it right at the end of where the bar is on the second floor. So it would be kind of in a little corner set off to itself, similar to what some of our other Class 4 license holders that have gaming have.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
And they don't currently have gaming, correct?
President Sandy, members of the committee, no, they do not. They have never had gaming there. So this would be a new site that they're
This
just
is a-
allowing gaming to come in. I can answer a couple of the other questions that people had too. Prior to 2019, the reason that we went up to 10 is at that time, we had more people who wanted gaming in their establishments, and that was Class 1, 21 and over only, or Class 3, 21 and over only. And that's why we increased it up to 10, since that was prior to the electronic machines. And so now that those are there, some of the smaller organizations that couldn't handle having to have blackjack and all of the full gaming have decided that they can handle and manage a gaming operation of just the electronic machines. So now we have the opposite problem, where you've got a lot of smaller groups that want to start getting into the gaming because of the revenue potential. There was a bill that was passed in the House this year, House Bill 1615, and that does allow for the cities to adopt policies for who is allowed to hold site authorizations in their community. And it's very specific in what things we can regulate, but part of that does include having some type of a presence within the community in addition to just a gaming site. And we have had some conversations with Mr. Gostad's office on looking at this and then bringing something forward for City Council to consider That would go into effect anytime now after August 1st. Once we adopt the policy, then we would have the ability to turn down an entity that wouldn't meet whatever policy we set. So as far as, as far as that, but yeah, there are some other, there are not too many 21 and over only bars that do not already have gaming. A lot of the ones that hold an alcohol license that don't have gaming are the ones that are either all ages or they've chosen to be more of a supper club and just don't want minors, but they also have not decided they wanted to offer gaming, which is why I do have a list of those that I can provide for next week if the committee is interested.
Thank you, Ms. Lundmark.
Can I ask one more
Of
question?
course, Ms. Lansky.
Vice President Weigel, can you explain the Arts Regrant CSG, how you're tying that together with this?
I think that I'm tying it together. We don't have a specific budget thing tonight. And so my thought was, when looking at some of these organizations that are looking to generate revenue, I tie it together when I look at gaming as a potential for them to be able to do so. I could see I don't want to name a specific one in case they're not interested, but I could see some type of performing arts, or I could see maybe a group of them coming together under one foundation and being like, hey, we want to offer some type of gaming, and so that money can be dispersed among multiple organizations. Just because I think that's kind of what I thought of. As we talk about the budget last week and we had our budget meetings over the last couple of weeks, I'm trying to look long-term and how do we get some of these organizations that may be interested, because I think, like Ms. Lundmark said, back in the day when it was just blackjack and pig wheel, I don't think a lot of smaller organizations or nonprofits wanted to manage those items. I think you had to have staff, multiple employees. I think where we are with electronic gaming, and I think where it could go with in the future, I know sports betting is always being talked about. I think this is something that's continuing to morph, and I think it's morphed since we were where we were in 2019 when we put the caps. And so I think there's more opportunities for smaller nonprofits to be able to go after some of these funds.
Further comments or questions? I should say for the record that I was teasing, of course. Children's Museum, as proven tonight, there was no gaming at Rhombus Guys. So Rebecca was correct. They have been doing a really good job.
They are doing a good job raising
right.
their own funds, so
That's right.
thank you.
So there is a motion and a second on the floor. Further comments?
Maybe just one comment, just for next week, Council President Sandy and Committee of the Whole. We will plan as part of the budget discussion, we'll add an agenda item regarding the gaming ordinance itself and so we add that to the agenda. And then we will also provide the revised 2163 forecast with fully funding human needs and the arts.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan. Okay, further comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 3.2, amendment to Class 5 hotel motel alcoholic beverage license definition. Ms. Lundmark.
President Sandy, members of the committee, we have tweaked this ordinance a couple times. The last time we did open it up so that hotel motels would be able to, that hold a Class 5 alcohol license, would be able to cater special events under a Class 11 if they were in an enclosed space, issued a certificate of occupancy that was owned or leased by the license holder. Since then, we have had some that have expressed an interest in wanting to be part of the bigger event opportunities in Grand Forks, perhaps sponsoring a street dance, being part of an event in Town Square, maybe something in the Greenway, something that would give them an opportunity to help them get more connected in with the community, as well as serving a need, because we have had some that have passed, done catering for some of those type of events that aren't willing to step up and promote, or maybe aren't able to step up and promote some of those items. And so bringing this forward for your consideration, if you would like to open that up so that they would have the ability to also do an event in an outdoor area under a Class 1 that, throughout the community. And specifically, I know some are looking in the downtown area, but, so open to the council for your questions or thoughts.
Anyone have any questions or thoughts or concerns?
I move approval.
Ms. Osowski moves approval. Second by Berg. Comment by Lensky.
Okay, so can you just go kind of step back? So this is just for hotel motels to have transfer their liquor license off-site for a special event?
Yes. So if you hold a Class 4 hotel motel, which we have 4 license holders that currently hold that class of license, they would be able to perhaps bring in a band to do a concert, a street dance, or an event in Town Square. Be able to cater and do alcohol for those events. Currently, outdoor events are not allowed.
Great. Further comments or thoughts? Anyone? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Under item 3.3, we're going to create 7,000 special assessment districts. Projects A through double B. Number 4236.7, District 357.3 for sanitary sewer. 4704.25, District 14, permanent flood protection. 5048.13, District 563.11, paving South 42nd Street. Project 5940.5, District 620.5, paving South 20th Street from 40th to 44th Avenue South. 5988.6, District 627.6, paving 40th Avenue South from South 20th Street to South Washington. Project 7435.3, District 691.3, paving rehab of North 42nd Street. Project 5788.3, District 530.3, sanitary sewer North 39th Street, North 36th Street, and 20th Avenue North. Project 7648.3, District 535.3, stormwater pond North 36th Street and 20th Avenue North. Project 7650.3, District 536.3, storm sewer North 36th Street, North 39th Street, and 20th Avenue North. Project 7653.4, District 332.4, water main North 39th Street and 27th Avenue North. Project 7654.2, District 705.2, paving and streetlights for North 39th Street. Maureen, you want to take a few?
I certainly can.
I've got the K.
And, yes, and
Yeah.
and just, exactly, we can do these all together as one.
Well, that was my plan to,
Yes, but I can read them all.
Good.
I believe you
I made it
left.
through K.
You made it. All right, I will start with project 7903.2, District 552.2, sanitary sewer for Opportunity Park, first re-subdivision. Project 7904.2, District 338.2, water main for Opportunity Park, first re-subdivision. Project 7905.2, District 553.2, storm sewer for Opportunity Park, first re-subdivision. Project 7906.3, District 543.3, pond expansion for Opportunity Park. Project 7907.12, District 723.2, paving and street lighting for Opportunity Park South 42nd Street paving. Project 7907.22, District 723.2, paving and street lighting for Opportunity Park 36th Avenue South paving. Project 7907.32, District 723.2 is paving and street lighting, Opportunity Park South 42nd Street lighting. Project 7907.42, District 723.2, which is paving and street lighting, Opportunity Park 36th Avenue South street lighting. Project 8066.1, District 568.1, sanitary sewer for South 19th Street, 40th to 44th Avenue South. Project 8209.1, District 349.1, water main for South 19th Street, 40th to 44th Avenue South. Project 8210.1, District 577.1, storm sewer for South 19th Street, 40th to 44th Avenue South. Project 8211.1, District 578.1, Stormwater Pond for Edgewood Village Second Subdivision. Project 8212.1, District 750.1, Paving South 19th Street, 40th to 44th Avenue South, and 44th Avenue South, South 17th Street to South 19th Street. Project 8214.1, District 751.1, Paving 44th Avenue South, 17th Street to east side of South End Drainage or Ditch. Project 8260.1, District 579.1, 44th Avenue South, Box Culvert. Project 8261.1, District 350.1, 44th Avenue South, Water Main Connection. Project 8312.41, District 755.41, Concrete Panel Repair, 34th Avenue South, South 34th Street to South 42nd Street, and that is, concludes the list.
Thank you for the assist, appreciate that. So comments or questions about the special assessment district? Yes, Ms. Osowski?
I have a question. So next year in the 2026 budget, our assessment goes up, correct? Our special assessment that the tax that the homeowner pays goes up to 15%, is that correct? Or the part that the homeowner pays?
I believe, so Mrs. Osowski, President Sandy, members of the committee, so this is based on existing cost shares, if that's what you're talking about. This is newly annexed property, so these projects have already happened. This is newly annexed property, so now they get their share of that previous project. If there is a city council decision to change cost shares, that would move forward with future projects.
So these will be in this year's budget then? All of these are?
Projects that have already been approved by council, they've already been.
Okay.
They were in a future special assessment area, so now that they're annexed into the city this year, they just get that assessment now that they're within city limits.
Okay, thank you.
Further comments? Mr. Weigel moves approval.
Second.
Second by Berg, thank you. Further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 3.4, Public Transportation Director Employment Agreement. Mr. Phelan.
Council President Sandy and members of the committee of the whole. As we've talked, Mr. Bergman, our Public Transit Director, is going to retire here in a couple weeks. I think August 8th is his last day. So Dale's been around here for 40-plus years of commendable service. Even before that, he was part of the transfer from the Grand Forks Airport to the city of Grand Forks. I think he and Candy Stern from the Finance Department are two of the last folks that transferred over in the 1980s. So Dale's done a great job. I just want to celebrate Dale. This is his last couple weeks. Dale's kind of a self-made guy. He started out as a mechanic for public transit, then moved up to supervisor, became a manager, and then has ended his career as the director of public transit. So he's given a lot of years and a lot of his great talents and efforts. And if there's anything you know about Dale, he's all in, and thankfully has a lot of skill sets to do pretty much any job in the public transportation department. So he's done a commendable job, and I just want to note that. And I suspect he'll be here next Monday for the city council meeting, but he's done a terrific job, and I've had the honor to work with him over my decades of working with the city of Grand Forks too. But because of that, we got a transition. And so I want to introduce Christy Slominski, who's right in the back next to Dale, to Dale's left there. And so we did an interview process. And Christy, currently right now, you've seen Christy from time to time. She's the mobility manager and also runs the paratransit system for Grand Forks. And in Grand Forks, that means Dial Ride and Senior Rider System. So she manages that system, and as well as the mobility, trying to get people, whether they can get on a fixed route bus or get on a Dial Ride or Senior Rider, she does all that. So she's been around for several years, and has kind of worked her way up too, similar to Dale. And we had a conversation that we were going to get through we just had a Federal Transit Administration triennial review, which is never really much fun. But thankfully, Dale and Christy and the city of Grand Forks team, we performed very well. So there's very few findings, if any, and the findings that we have are more minor, and that goes to Dale and to Christy and the whole city team and what we did. So you should be really proud of the team. So with this agreement, and what we talked with Ms. Slominski is that Tangi Bovet and I, our HR director, is that this is an at-will contract agreement, employment agreement, so that if you go become a department head right now, our administration recommendation is you come at will, and so you lose a little bit of your netting around you. So you're on an island, but we're going to support Christy like we do all departments and all department heads to make sure she's successful. And Tangi and I told her that we have a profound respect and confidence that she's going to do a great job. And so she did accept the position, and we let her know that it would be an at-will position and that would have to go through City Council for final approval. So it's your standard agreement that we've approved with other department heads, similar to what Mr. Friedman was here, the last as our police chief. So that's what's in front of you today, and that's the process that we have, and we're thankful that we have great internal candidates that can fill important positions in the city of Grand Forks. And I would say the public transit director, of all positions in the city of Grand Forks, is one of the most challenging positions. You have to run operations, you have to do capital projects, you got to get rolling stock, you've got to deal with passengers and customers that are on the bus, and you deal with fixed route, and you deal with dial ride and senior rider. So it's one of the most challenging positions we have. And then you have the complication of dealing with the federal and state government, because a lot of the funding comes at least from the federal government. So there's lots of challenges in this job, and we'll support Christy, but I want to let you know that Dale's done a great job. Christy's up for the challenge, and it is another department head position that we're asking you to approve. Any questions?
Any questions by council members? Thoughts?
Motion to approve.
Moved by Berg. Second by Osowski.
Mr. Sandy?
Yes, Mr. Veen?
Yep. Just going to confirm my ongoing look at how we address department heads. Nothing against Christy. I know she does a very good job. I'm still in favor of retaining the civil service contract, and that's why I will be voting against this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Veen. Noted. Further comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. Veen dissents. Thank you. Why don't we take item 3.5, 3.6, and 3.7 together? Federal Transit Administration signature of authority for trams grants, changeover of staff, city's area transit assistant management, TAMS plan changes and signature updates, and city's area transit public transit agency safety plant changes and signature updates. Mr. Bergman, this is procedural, correct? Because we're getting a new director and there are a few minor changes in the plans as well, correct?
That is correct, yes. This is so that they can apply for the grants. They can also execute the grants. So we have to have that signature changeover since I will be leaving. The couple of plans during our triennial review, we now have to have a council president sign off on it also with the director of the position.
I move approval on all of them, all three of them, 3.5, 3.6, 3.7.
Thank you. Moved by Osowski, second by Berg. Further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Bergman. Item 3.8, Safe Streets for All Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. Mr. Krenko.
Good evening, Council President Sandy and members of the committee. The Safe Streets and Roads for All program, it is a grant program that funds projects to reduce fatal and serious injury crashes on roadways. There are two main kinds of grants that come with this program. One is the planning grant and the other is the implementation grant. What you have before you is the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, which is taking advantage of a planning grant. And in order to take advantage of implementation grants to actually make some of these projects happen in the future, the applying entity has to have an adopted Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. And so moving along that, this has been a project that's been in the works for about the last 2 years or so. I'm joined tonight with Stephanie Halford with the MPO, as well as Blue Weber with Bolton and Menk. And I will hand it over to Mr. Weber for a presentation.
Thank you.
Mr. Weber, good evening. Thanks for being here.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me, President Sandy and members of the committee. First thing that you'll see in that staff report, we've been here a couple times to talk to you about this process and this project, and really it's kind of bittersweet for me at least that we're in those final stages and wrapping it up. But here to do a very, very high level kind of last minute, here's some of the things that we've been updating over the past couple weeks, about the past month. So I really updated on those incorporated comments, and then what is being adopted? What are we actually here for? What is it that you're voting on? The first thing is some of the comments that we received both throughout the entire open comment period as well as during the dual council meeting that we had. So you'll see that almost all of these chapters didn't really have many edits. They were pretty clean and easy. Chapter 5 is where we did have some different updates because we had some kind of final interactions with the public. This is everything from the dual city council to a couple last open houses and pop-up events. Chapter 6, which was the data evaluation chapter, we did update a little bit, just kind of more showing off what the high injury network was, where we collected some of that data, and just making sure that that was very clear. The areas where you'll see the biggest changes was in Chapter 7. These were very heavily from a lot of interactions with council, but also with city staff on both sides of the river. So some of the first things that I like to note here is we updated with cost estimates on these facility types recommendations. So these are those various different countermeasures. We had 13 of them, 7 which are maybe a little bit more auto-centric, while the rest being kind of all wheeled sports, pedestrian movements, things like that. So these are really high-level costs just to kind of look at it more, the operations and maintenance, as well as kind of the capital cost of it per mile, things like that. From there, we also updated our project tables. So these project tables are really just kind of a high-level overview of what some of the projects that were on the high injury network, why they were on the high injury network, and then what some of the different anticipated impacts if the city or cities were to actually pursue some of these different projects that we have on here. So the things that we looked at were the project impacts of these 6 categories: right-of-way, access, utilities, trees, parking, and then historical trees as well. And then one of the big notes here is the perceived difficulty of implementation by agency. This was something that when looking at these potential projects, really trying to arm the city staff with as much information so that way if they do want to do a project down the road, knowing that maybe there's some additional engagement or maybe there's going to be more impacts to right-of-way or parking, so that way they can prepare for some of those. And then the last was a couple updates to some of our appendix items. One of the ones that I have on here just to show you some of the different things that we were showing is over in East Grand Forks, Bigland Road was a really big project that looks at that entire corridor from the Louis Murray Bridge out to Bigland, and they actually had us add in an additional roundabout. Some of the other ones that we did a little bit of updates to was the Belmont roundabout. So this is right next to Phoenix Elementary, and really incorporating some of the things that the city had received in the Phoenix Safe School study, as well as with that 17th Avenue layout. One of the elements in there was a road diet and making sure that we're really thoroughly explaining what a road diet means here, as well as looking at what some of the impacts are for a project of that type of magnitude. The last piece is really what we're here for tonight, and then next week is for this adoption process. So Chapter 8 is really to start to put into to place some of these different tools to help actually look into what these safety implementations are doing within the community. And so this isn't necessarily just saying this is all in the city. This is also information that the MPO is collecting. And so really a way to be able to say, yes, this is working, or, oh, maybe we need to approach it a little bit differently when it does come to full implementation and not maybe just piloting or trying different things. So the first section here is why progress and transparency matter. These are things that we really heard from those peer communities. There was 4 communities that we audited basically as part of this process. The next is this measuring success. So this is where the data analytics come in really heavily. A good point to make here is the high injury network. Originally 30 seconds showed up on the high injury network when we started this project. Well, we know that the city has already done so much work on 30 second with the realigning of those left turn lanes. It actually is coming off of the high injury network, but it was still registering in there because those turn lanes hadn't been realigned. So those are kind of the measurements that really will help the city when it comes to analyzing success, or if you want to go forward with any of those potential projects. And then the last section here is transparency and community engagement. This is just making sure that if you do have any projects, especially safety implementation projects, how do you engage with the public? And so there is some different outlines in here, but also it's just helping the entire engineering and planning staff with some of that information. With that, like I said, I was trying to be very brief, and so really just kind of wanted to come and answer any questions and stand for those. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Are there comments or questions? Yes, Ms. Osowski?
Yeah, I just have some questions so I fully understand this. So you were awarded a grant for $400,000 to come up with this plan. Is that correct?
So the MPO was awarded the grant.
Okay, and then to come up with this, and now you want us to take this plan and adopt it and give you permission to go seek other funding for it, or?
I can hop in on that one. Adopting this plan allows us to pursue implementation grants through the Safe Streets and Roads for All program at some point in the future. So the planning grant that was awarded, that was done through the MPO. The MPO was the lead agency on that one, and then the cities of Grand Forks and East Grand Forks were also in on that as well. So it was a multiple city MPO combined effort.
And so what is the cost share like on a majority of these grants?
This one was the 80% federal share, 10% City of Grand Forks, 10%
Right.
City of East Grand Forks.
But you're going to go seek other grants, correct? Is that the typical 80-10-10? Is that how a majority of the grants that you're going to go and seek?
80-20 is typically what it would be.
80-20, and then we split it between Grand Forks and East Grand Forks, or no?
No, we would probably pursue it as a City of Grand Forks project, using this as the basis. So if it was a $1 million project, it would be $800,000 federal funding, $200,000 city funding for it.
And then do we have to adapt the entire plan? Or can we pick and choose the things that we like out of it? I'm all about public safety, but there's a lot of stuff in here about bike paths. And that's a little concerning to me, so.
I believe the Safe Streets and Roads for All program, it has to incorporate certain elements. Which elements those are, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. It's something I could certainly look into and get back to you. Unless, Blue, do you know those off the top of your head? Or Stephanie online, do you know?
So I know that as part of the safety action plan, you need to follow what's in federal highways guidelines for safe streets. So it's in chapter 1, actually, is kind of where we outline what those are. And so just because you're following those procedures doesn't mean all of the projects that you need to put in need to follow all those. So like a perfect example of it is the Belmont Roundabout. There's no bike lanes in there. It really focuses more on some road diets in some areas and the roundabout at that intersection of 4th and Belmont. So an important note here is all of the concepts, those plans, those aren't what need to be implemented. Once you start putting in for grant applications for those are not necessarily exactly how you need to. You can almost take certain elements from those and implement them in your own grant when you're going after those grants. Does that answer it?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Of course.
Further, yes, Ms. Linsky?
So does it come before council again before you apply for the grant?
So right now, you go for it.
So it's the city of Grand Forks would be applying for the grant.
Does it come back to council though before you apply?
Correct. So this is just adopting of the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. If we were to pursue a grant in the future, staff would come forward with a request to apply for federal funds.
Ms. Bird?
This has been a really cool project to watch from the beginning, to see that the different comments that the public had on the various concerning spots throughout the city. And so I'm excited to see it continue to move forward, and so I move approval.
Moved by Berg. Is there a second by Weigel? Okay. Further comments? Okay. Everyone wants to second. I have a few comments. I think, so to reiterate the conversations that I've had today about this plan, it's kind of twofold. First of all, it's a general philosophy on how our engineers and planners should be thinking about safety in our community and transportation safety in all means of transportation, pedestrians, bicyclists, scooters, motorcycle, planes, trains, and automobiles. And so I think philosophically, I think we would all agree that we want our streets safe for our citizens and regardless of their mode of transportation. So I personally like the plan. I talked to Mr. Weber about a few of the things in the plan earlier today that I have a little concern about. He promised me that these are general concepts, and the list and order of the items in the appendices aren't necessarily things that, it's not necessarily an order of things that need to be done, or even a list of things that need to be done. They're more, these are things that they recognized or noticed that potentially we might want to implement in the future. Am I summarizing that okay?
Excellent, yeah.
Gentlemen, okay, very good. I was going to suggest removing some things from the plans, but I think as long as everyone recognizes that this is just a conceptual, I will say that I don't think putting a bike path, a separated bike path down University and taking out parking, I don't think that would fly with the people that live there. And similarly, the changes that are suggested on South Washington Street, taking out the shared turn lane and making everything right in, right out, I don't think the businesses would go for that. I do think that we should collectively, and we've talked about this in the past, and engineering has talked about this even on North Washington right after the underpass, trying to get the businesses to reduce the ingress and egress right onto Washington and use the side streets for access to their facilities, and maybe working on eliminating some of the driveways in and out. I think that would be important. But I guess I'm not gonna dwell on all of the individual things, as long as everyone is very, very clear, crystal clear, that the items in the appendices aren't recommendations, and they don't have to be done if we adopt this policy.
And Council President Sandy, if I may,
Yes,
an
sir.
important thing to note, especially with South Washington, right? It's this perfect example of, does that make the roadway safer for all users? Sure. Is that something that I think a city staff is going to put in a grant for? No, but there's access management. There's different things that you can start to take. And so that concept is a really good example of, sure, that is a safety implementation first and foremost, but it's also probably not what's best fit. And so to Mr. Karanko's point of, when he does put in a grant application, it's coming before you, because I think it's really important that this process doesn't stop at this document, especially when it comes time to start designing, putting in those, they're very sizable grants. And so I think that still needs to be dialogue. And that's part of why this Chapter 8, Progress and Transparency, is also very important, is because it's recognizing that safe streets are not something that you want one and done. There's something that should be an ongoing conversation.
Certainly. Any other thoughts for the good of the order? Okay, hearing none, there's a motion and second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Pose same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Blue. Mr. Weber, Mr. Blue Weber, thank you. Yeah. 3.9 Red River BMX update regarding Hugo's Raceway. Mr. Phelan.
Council President Sandy and members of the committee of the whole, I'm going to give an overview. I'm going to go through all the attachments just to set a context, and then also Mr. Brandon Belkowicz is here. He's going to follow me, and he's going to give some color on behalf of the Red River BMX crew. This first one, these are the two of the new, and so one of the things that has happened since we last talked about the Hugo's Raceway on behalf of the Red River BMX group, they have hired an architect, and they've come up with some site renderings, and then also some views of what that facility would look like. And if you know, regarding the BMX, there are buildings right here, and so we've talked about those outdoor buildings. This would be to consolidate those buildings, concessions, registration, kind of the viewing area into one facility. And you can see if you were out there, they had a terrific regional event last week. But right now, the All True Sports Complex construction zone starts about right here. And so you can see where it'd be, the turf facility is planned to be right here. So you can see in a location where it's at. Here are some of their floor plans. I think part of this with the Red River BMX, you can see the concessions, registration. They've got storage up top. They've got some other things. So part of this is that we wanted to make sure if the city was going to participate in some of these facilities, is that it met the district strategy. Obviously, the Ultra Sports Complex kind of sets the standard. We got the Alaris Center to the north, and then the Red River BMX and the Hugo's Raceway, and then following this presentation is regarding the Children's Museum. But we wanted to make sure this looked like it was meant to be, and it wasn't haphazard. So this is really trying to make all the facilities look like they're meant to be for the next 30 to 50 years. So you can see what the look is right there regarding that particular. The other thing they did with the architect is that the Red River BMX Club, they looked at cost estimates. So their number one priority is this building, the concessions, registration, storage, kind of the viewing facility. This is their number one priority when you're thinking about the request of moving forward and helping to support them financially further. So you can see that building right now, the upward limit of the 100% is at $500,000, and that would be all in. That's their estimate right now per that building. So I wanted to go over that. They also, late today, they got a letter from USA BMX, and that's important because USA BMX brings national events that were held last year, and we're proposed to get one next year. And then they also do the regional events that were occurring over the weekend. So that's really important to us have a terrific facility that people want to come to, and USA BMX wants to support us. This is the overall district strategy, and so when I was here last, I said some of these items regarding the Red River BMX can be incorporated into the offsite infrastructure components. So you've seen this before, but I just want to go over this with you again. You can see this is the Hugo's Raceway. One thing that we're looking at change ordering, and this will come back to you in September on what this cost is, but this would be a concrete pathway through this area. Right now, you can see where the bleachers are currently right here. And so it's essentially asphalt chips in that area. So that would be one improvement that we intend to incorporate as part of the offsite infrastructure change order. There are two parking areas, number 3 up here, north of All True Sports Complex, and then just to the south of Hugo's Raceway. We're intending to add some parking in those strategic areas. We talked about the sewer connection, and this facility right here that I just showed, it would have sewer and water connection. So the plan is to extend the sewer around the Ultra Sports Complex and then have a connection right here. And this is in and around where that facility would be. And obviously then it would connect in with our potential court addition. Recall we were going to come back in September and we're going to reroute the water main around the potential court addition. And then you can see where we have it looped around the entire building. Right now it shows a connection here, but likely the connection would go up here. So we would have potable water and wastewater or sanitary sewer connection. So those are all projects that we're going to incorporate and change order into existing contracts that we have for the offsite infrastructure. And really, this whole entire plan was intended to have the offsite infrastructure, as I said, under this district strategy, serve the Alter Sports Complex, serve the Red River BMX, and also the Grand Forks Children's Museum. And that was the intent of really creating a tremendous complex that we have to date. The other part is, there's always discussion, well, what's their skin in the game? And so the Red River BMX Club, again, came back with what their investment has been. So you can see where they've had a $300,000 investment, overall value of over $450,000, because they've gotten some in-kind donations from area contractors that are willing to help support this terrific club. This was the other thing that I'm going to talk about. So we also asked, what are these estimates? They did go out. They had some of their own estimates, ranges in the various improvements. And then they also asked Mac Constructions for some construction estimates. So you've seen this before too. Again, the registration concession billing right now, previously it was at 417. I'm saying right now at a range of up to 500,000 is what that new number is. The other two, so that's priority one. Priority two, maybe the 2A would be this gate vault and start hill redesign, which is 79,250. The other part is the retaining walls on all four corners, which is that 100,000. And then these miscellaneous staging area and covered area at 80 and 65. So, but if I were to say it, it's the registration concession building is priority one, with 2A being the gate vault and start hill redesign, and then 2B would be the retaining walls on all four corners. And Mr. Belkovich, he can correct me if I'm wrong on some of the priorities here from what I have heard. And then you also received this letter. Again, these were estimates, and we refined those over time. And I just want to focus on what they're trying to do here. They're trying to improve the facility from a safety, access, and aesthetics, blend in with that district strategy. They're trying to attract regional and national events, of which they did this past weekend with an original event. And I think these events are really important because in Grand Forks, in the summertime, we don't have a lot of events going on, and this really fills that niche of events that are coming into Grand Forks on weekends and filling hotel rooms and restaurants and into our community. So it really fits that niche where sometimes summers are quieter time for events. They're really trying to expand youth and community participation, and just over the last several years that they've been here in the community and relocated to the Alair Center site. I'm sure Mr. Belkovich can speak to this, but they've increased membership significantly, just because it shouldn't come as a surprise, but it usually does. Kids and adults, they don't want to participate in things where they're half-assed facilities. And so generally when you get nicer facilities, more people show up, more people participate. And I think this is another classic example of put things in the right place, make it nice, make it convenient, and you're going to get more and more people participate. I think with these improvements, it will only add that. They want to make it long-term and durable and sustainable. And so one of the things the city did, it is city-owned land. There were some concerns back in the day from the Alair Center and the commission about, do we want to give up this space? And so there was a lease, and it was more of a lease of, well, let's see how it goes, see if they're successful or not. Well, the point is they've been overwhelmingly successful. It's added a lot of traffic and activity in a positive way out there, and it's probably far exceeded expectations in a positive way than ever was felt from before. And there were some that were skeptical at the time. So it's really a huge success story. And I think it's helped built on, we can do other things like an Ultra Sports Complex. So they should be given a lot of positive. And really what they're trying to do is create a top tier facility where USA BMX and others want to bring tournaments here and activities and events. And before this facility, we weren't getting any of these major events, and now we're really on the map in the upper Midwest. And so it really is an incredible story that they've created. So if you look at the numbers and just to help facilitate, so some folks don't have to ask for funds themselves, is that they are, if you look at that concession registration building at $500,000, that gate vault and start hill is at $79,250, and the retaining walls on all four corners is $100,000. So right now, that estimate would be $679,250 in one-time funds. So that's a significant sum of funds. I think, similar to the Children's Museum, we would look to Economic Development Fund 2163, the same fund that we talked about, looking at adding back human needs and arts. We would look at that coming out of that fund in a one-time nature. I think, similar to the Children's Museum, that we should set a funding gap, or funding, for their funding gap, set a funding cap, I should say. And that cap could be in and around, that 650,000, but it would be on an expendable. So they'd have to expend the funds, and then we would reimburse under conditions that Mr. Gosted would draw up, similar to what we did the Children's Museum. So it would be under these scenarios, these projects, this kind of way that we want it done, and it would only be on a reimbursement basis. To date, we have helped, I said, talk about the lease, and so similar to the Children's Museum, they have a low-cost lease of city-owned land. And then originally, as part of the infrastructure development of that, we did participate on some of the infrastructure development to make that project happen, in and around about $106,000. We invested in the stormwater pond and some other miscellaneous infrastructure improvements. I know the other thing that came up is, are we picking winners and losers? And, I always say we always want to pick winners, and how you become winner is that you're activating your own projects. You've got participation among your club. You're making things happen. And generally, when the city is successful in these things, if you've already created your own positive story, and we're helping to come in with one-time funding to get you across the finish line and make some improvements. And I think in this case, that's true. And that's been true with, I was thinking back in, recent history about what the city has done. We've helped participate in the Veterans Memorial Park, and the city participated in helping to get that General Palmer Visitor Center completed. The city helped participate in that to get that across the finish line. We've helped with the law enforcement memorial to get that across the finish line. We've helped with the skate park to get that across the finish line. And later, we're going to talk about the Children's Museum too, but we've participated in many ways. This is a more significant investment, but I think it's tied in with this overall strategy in that whole area of creating quality of life investments with that. So that's what we do. And if you so choose to move a motion together for a funding, similar to what the previous motion was about human needs and arts, Maureen and I would come back with a 2163 scenario with this one-time funding. So you'd be able to see next week, as part of discussion on this item and also discussion on the budget, what that impact may be with all the other things that you may want to do. So with that, I'd put a period on it, and I'd ask our good fellow from the Red River BMX to come up and add some further content.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan. I'm Brandon Balkowicz, Vice President for the track. Miranda, she's the President for the track. Council, thanks for listening to us, listening to Mr. Phelan the last couple of weeks, and taking on possibly a partnership with the city and the Red River BMX or Hugo's Raceway. Anybody have any specific questions to start with?
I do.
Ms. Osowski?
Yes, Ms.
Yeah. Have you guys considered, or are you interested in starting charitable gaming?
Yes, we have.
You have? Do you guys have charitable gaming?
We do not at this point in time, but we have considered it, and we've been looking into doing that.
So maybe you guys should look into doing that to raise $500,000 for your track. I mean, I would like to see at least that happen first before.
Well, we do have a lot of sponsorships. So we've
Right.
got a partnership with the Alaris Center. We have a partnership, with the city, and so with that, a lot of those sponsors they help us out. And by doing that, going to the gaming or trying to do gaming to raise $500,000 for us, I mean, it could take many, many years. So by doing that, we're not getting to the point or getting over to to have a big, nice building that's going next to where the sports complex is going to be and right next to where the Alaris Center is also.
So I guess one thing that I'm kind of thinking of is, if more people had more expendable income for themselves, do you think that maybe they would donate more money to your racetrack?
I guess maybe.
So maybe if we gave this money back to the taxpayers and then people could really choose
I mean, I can't
or,
say.
I mean, one comment that I have is public funds are not infinite, and nonprofits should be driven by the market also. And I don't agree with giving the BMX track $500,000. Mr. Wagle has already talked about tonight adding in about $300,000 into Fund 2163 for human needs and for art. And now here we are at Fund 2163, another $500,000. So already tonight, we're considering about, I'm rounding with those two funds, another $800,000. And I really think that the more money that we can put back into our citizens' pockets, the more disposable income they have to donate to a lot of these nonprofits. And I mean, whether it be the BMX track, whether it be the mission, at least then people get to choose where their money is going. I also disagree that we can even afford this. I mean, right now, we're still waiting to hear back on the supposed basketball courts and the other addition to our all-true sports complex. We have $10 million going to the Children's Museum. Maybe we could lower that a little bit then if we want to give everybody else funding. I'm really concerned about the charitable funding that we are talking about tonight, especially coming out of 2163. Taxpayer funds are not infinite. And all of these things that we're talking about funding tonight is coming out of the taxpayer's pocket. And I would rather see money go back into our taxpayers' pocket so they get to choose which nonprofits. I completely disagree with finding the funds to do this out of 2163. And I wish you guys the best. I mean, if you go and try to get some private funding, I think that's great. I mean, hustle a little bit more and maybe you can make up that $500,000. I disagree that the taxpayer should be on the hook for this and for a lot of the other things that we're talking about tonight out of Fund 2163.
Just so everyone out there knows, 2163 is our sales tax. It's not property taxes, it's 100% sales tax. And technically, it is infinite because we're going to continue to collect sales tax forever. Ms. Berg?
Thank you. I was going to just ask if I could be reminded where 2163 comes from. So as you buy things within the city, we will continue to receive funding from that. What I'd like to know a little bit more on is what could, if we moved forward with this, what does our return on investment look like with dollars coming back to our community with people attending
Ms. Berg,
this
that's a great
facility?
question. Members of the board, I would say the thing that comes back to the city is, just like this weekend, we had our major event this last weekend, which is our state qualifier, and it is a Gold Cup qualifier race. The economic impact basically on the city just from that race was somewhere around $40,000 to $50,000 in taxes, hotels, everything for people that came into the city for that race. We're looking at every year trying to bring a national here. We're more than likely not going to get a national every year, but at least hopefully every other year we're trying to do a multi-year deal with USA BMX. The economic impact on the city from our national was approximately $700,000. So that amount of money that basically you'd be giving us now, one national pretty much brings that back to the city.
And I believe I heard Todd indicated that we're hoping to get one in the near future.
Yes.
Okay. So we could see that return on investment within just a year or two.
Yes, ma'am.
I guess who would own the building? Would it be BMX, or?
Councilmember Berg, I think that would be up to discussion as part of the agreement. Right now, the city owns the land. Right now, they own the track itself, but with these additional buildings, I think we'd have to bring that into the agreement about who's going to own it and maintain it. That would be part of that discussion.
I think those are my questions. Thank you.
Ms. Lunsky?
Can you tell us how many families came to town last weekend for your big tournament?
Ms. Lunsky, members of the council, I can't tell you exactly how many families, but on Sunday we had 240 racers. So with that, you could almost say each family brings approximately 1 to 2 kids. And so that was somewhere around, I would say 300 to 400 families that came to town for that race.
And what are the ages of your participants?
Ages for the participants, we have anywhere from 1-year-olds up to 70. We had a racer on Sunday, actually Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's 73 years old. So for our sport, there is no age for when you can race, when you want to race. Everybody's welcome to race.
Gotcha. I think my next questions are for Mr. Phelan. Can you bring back the map that you had up earlier? Just curious, how come we're adding parking stalls right next to a parking lot? Are we just adding on to that parking lot?
You mean in these, Councilmember Lunsky, these
Yeah.
two areas right here? I think it was a way to just add more parking that wasn't there, more pavement in that area that did not exist. So primarily in this area for the Red River BMX Club, and then up here in this area that wasn't intended. And in part because we are going to shave their current parking lot down, and so we're trying to look for areas for additional parking areas.
And so the extra parking is not included in the 600,000, right?
It is not, no.
Okay.
It would be part of, you would see a change order likely coming back in September when we talk about, the more global court expansion, and we would have specific change orders about what it's going to cost as part of that off-site infrastructure bid.
And then can we just quick review, so the turf facility pool came in at 110 million, but the quotes came in $20 million less. And so that's where this kind of idea came from for BMX. What happens if we go with the courts and they come in above budget? Is there a chance we can not have enough funds, run out of money?
Council President Sandy and Councilmember Lunsky, we would use, as we talked, Economic Development Fund 2163. So we would not use the Altru Sports Complex sales tax in these investments. These would be investments through your 1%, your current 1% sales tax. So we keep it separate. And we talked with Mr. Gosted, and we want to make sure that that sales tax specifically goes to the Ultra Sports Complex. To include the courts would be an addition. So none of that 20 plus million that we have available are we planning to use for any of these improvements.
Okay, so I thought this came to be because of that. No.
No,
This
it
is
was
just-
always their hope that they could make some improvements as part of future investments. And I think partly the urgency is that it's a high likelihood they are going to get a national next summer. And so once they get the final word, that they want to see if they can make these improvements in advance of that national next year.
So I know it's not related, but when do you think we'll get some idea about the courts?
We will, Councilmember Lunsky and Council President Sandy, that will be back to you in September.
Okay. Thank you.
And Council President Sandy, I would just say, I was thinking about this, and obviously the Ultra Sports Complex is a huge example of the city of Grand Forks building projects that in other cities, a different taxing entity would do these, but obviously we're able to do it, and we were able to pass a sales tax. But there's other government subsidies of other sports. If you look at hockey in this community, are run by park districts. We have baseball, softball. Those are all on park district owned and operated facilities. And so in this case, this is city government helping to improve this facility and giving them a better site. So, if kids are enjoying other sports, a lot of times those are, as they should be, those are in Park District facilities where they help facilitate the facility, and so kids can play and do what they do.
Mr. Sandy?
Yeah, Mr. Veen.
A couple questions to start with. First of all, I was able to be out yesterday and at the event, met a few of the board members that are here and the like, and wasn't there long, but it was really unique to see the number of people and the commitment from those and the hard work that each of them do. So that was exciting. What I'm wondering, when it comes to 2153, do we have a long-term capital plan? I see and I'm hearing, the current urgency of this project, especially looking at a national tournament and stuff. But where does this also fit within the long-term priority planning that we may have, including maybe what happens with the All-True Sports Complex? Sometimes it's easy to look at whatever floats to the top, but how does it fit in long-term for us? And what other things might we be looking at either currently or down the road that would also be needing funding like this?
Council President Sandy and Council Member Veen, I'll first answer, then I'll have Maureen go in. You'll see next week, and even if we're going to obviously look at some revisions to Economic Development Fund 2163. So we got a 6-year forecast, and we're going to look out. We won't have like a great 6 years, and in the 7th year it falls off a cliff. So there are some things on there that are going to come off. Currently, I know we're investing in the Nistler College of Business and Public Administration. That will fall off in that 6-year period of time. And there's other things that are in there. So we have done things that have come and gone. And as Council President Sandy said, thankfully right now, the sales tax keeps going on, and it's been growing and growing because we've been doing some great things around here. So that would be our strategy. There's always things that come up. We would prepare next week that 6-year plan of what 2163 looks like, and we could probably add some things that we think may come up in that 6-year period or beyond. Right now, the Park District is planning to operate. We have an operations agreement with them to operate the All-True Sports Complex, and they're going to fund that. So right now, we do not have funds set aside in 2163 to pay any of the subsidy on the All-True Sports Complex. And so right now, really, we have lots of earmarks in 2163. We don't have a lot of ongoing operational kinds of things, other than in your other growth fund, your other economic development fund, which is in 5996. We're really getting through these numbers. So the growth fund that you talk about when we talk about the Jobs Development Authority, that's Fund 5996. And there are some capital investments in there, but we've sold off a lot of our buildings from Corporate Center 1 and 2 to Cirrus. That has some rents and some capital improvements. So that's your other fund that we look to. And I should have got this right. The Nistler College of Business Public Administration investments in actually in Fund 5996. So that'll come off in a short amount of time. But we can go over both those funds because they're two important funds for us getting things done in Grand Forks next Monday. So there's always things that come up. Maureen and I we've been working with the mayor on this budget since, April. And so even in that short time span, we keep altering things too. And I suspect maybe we'll alter next Monday too. With that, I'd hand it over to Maureen.
Thank you, Todd. You covered it very well. Back to the Nistler that rolls off 2029 is the last year in there, and you're correct. That comes from your JDA fund, your 5996. We do have the commitment to the Children's Museum that is a 10-year, $400,000, that rolls off in 2034 is the projection. Want to be careful to understand, again, it's been reiterated, but what we're talking about tonight has nothing to do with the sales tax that goes toward the Altsor Sports Complex, and that has its own CIP and long-term look between that and the Alara Center. I have not looked at any operational type of costs, as Todd said, with Altsor Sports Complex from this fund, is that's the current agreement with the Park District for that. I guess with the mayor's budget, and we'll take the feedback tonight to incorporate what the mayor would like to incorporate when we look at bringing this budget forward on Monday to look to City Council for priorities on how we want to look at this fund and the current uses. But you do have that projection. And what I look at when I look at 2163, and we'll see how this adjusts after tonight, but I really look at that annual flow of money with revenue meeting those projected expenditures. So we look to, as much as possible, maintain that balance without getting it. We do spend for certain targeted things as decisions are made with different projects, but overall wanting to look at that long-term sustainability of that fund and make sure we can meet the needs of that fund.
Well, maybe my quick question or thought on this, wouldn't it make sense to take a look at this at the same time as we're looking at it all to see how well it fits in?
Council President Sandy and Councilmember Vian, yeah, I agree. But if we could have an indication of what the city council is considering at the committee of the whole leading into next week's city council meeting, then we could have, what the 6-year and maybe beyond looks like. So in the absence of putting it, seeing if you want to do it, that's why we're asking tonight. Are you interested, number one? And number two, what would be that one-time funding that you would be looked to? And then before next week's meeting, you would know what the impact is on 2163, Fund 2163, and then make a final determination of what makes sense with all the other wants and needs that we have in that fund.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan. I'm really torn on this project for a lot of reasons. I think it's great. I think what BMX is doing out there is amazing, and it's super fun, and I was a big supporter of allocating land. And I know that just based upon how often I talk to Mr. Weigel, and when I talk to him, he's always out there working. I think it's great, but generally speaking, we've always been last money in on projects like this. Usually there's been some element of, okay, we'll figure out this much. Can you help us out with this much? And so I'm trying to rationalize and wrap my arms around how we could, I don't know, get the BMX folks to come up with some part of the money and have us come in at the end. Have you tried any fundraising? Have you? I know to Ms. Osowski's. I'm trying to be helpful, right? I want to get you across the finish line, right?
President Sandy, yeah, I mean, we fundraise all the time. Actually, as of next month, we're doing the Month of Money. So we do raffle tickets once a year. We're constantly trying to get additional sponsorships. Again, for us, everything that comes into the track or every penny that comes in goes back into the track or back into the city. We're not we're a nonprofit, so and nobody there. It's all volunteer work. So we are constantly trying to put everything back in, and like one of them showed in the last 4 years, we've put almost $450,000 back into the city and in our track, trying to make it better, trying to make it the nice facility so that we can get that multi-year deal with USA BMX. And that's what we're trying to work towards is the national races is kind of the key thing that we're always trying to get. And the biggest part of that is just bringing those folks to the town to be able to come in, stay in the hotels, spend the money in the city, And everybody from last year that we talked to that came into our national, everybody loved the track. They loved the way it flowed. We got great feedback. And with that, USA BMX has given us great feedback. As you can see, they gave us a letter saying that, yeah, they have a good partnership with us and they want to see us grow. So yes, we have done that, and we are, willing to see what we can come up with and, to try and get to that point. And again, we'd like to see our facility just as nice as all the other facilities around it.
Sure. I would too. So then that's going to lead me to my question for the good of Ms. Lunsky's point earlier. The ballot question we asked, and Danny was nice enough to send it to me. I'm going to skip a whole bunch of the lawyer jargon at the beginning of it, but it's with the added health and wellness facilities to be used for centers of health, wellness, fitness, exercise, athletics, aquatics, and/or recreational activities, functions, and events. Sounds like a BMX track to me. It just does. It sounds like a children's museum. It sounds like lots of things. I know we've never put you on the spot in a public meeting, Mr. Gosted, but because I'm going to make the suggestion that we use sales tax money from our health and wellness sales tax to fund these items. And but I'm interested in your opinion on whether that's a good idea or not.
I won't weigh in on whether it's a good idea or not. That's policymaking decision.
Good, it's a good idea. Thank you, Mr. Gosted. Would you like to provide another opinion, though?
I would.
Okay.
And I know that there's been discussion about what health and wellness and what the language of that particular ballot measure that was drafted by my office. In fact, it was drafted by me, and what that all entails. Does it include and does it authorize those funds to be used? And I know that the language talks about facilities, plural, and there is an effort that will be made to make a determination, a legal conclusion as to whether those funds can in fact be used for something other than the Alternative Sports Center that was presented as part of the ballot measure. So is the language broad? It is. I would agree with you, President Sandy. Does it also authorize funds to be used in that manner? I haven't reached that conclusion yet. I intend to dig into it and to review it in a little bit more detail. I don't mean to punt, but I need to because I have not reached the legal opinion on that yet.
Well, then I can have my own opinion without you taking away from my point, which is I believe that there's no reason why we can't use the funds from that sales tax to help the BMX track with one-time funding to get them the building done. Frankly, I think if we're smart, 2163 is specific economic development, long-term things, not one-time expenses. We have some one-time expenses in terms of a BMX track and potentially a children's museum that could use that. Whereas I think it would be better for us financially if we were able to use the funding from that to get all of those facilities in that location done. And then we save our 2163 for the deals that might come up in the future that we might need the funds for. Just my opinion, though, and of course, I've been proven wrong by our city attorney in the past. But as of today, I think, to me, that solves all of Rebecca's problems. It solves, and Rebecca, I also think we should not do the basketball facilities today because we don't need them today. Everybody knows we don't need them today. let's get these projects done, let's wait a few years, and then if we need them, then we can do them then. The sales tax will go on forever. There will always be revenue coming in to build a basketball facility. So that's just my opinion, though. Thank you, Ms. Osowski.
Yeah, I do like your idea about using that sales tax to fund the BMX track, because when I read the ballot, that's the way that I looked at it, is that it could be used for anything health and wellness. And I do think that just getting kids outside on bikes I would rather support that than a lot of other things that we do. One thing about you talking about infinite sales tax, like we're borrowing against our sales tax. It's not like we're saving up money and paying for all this in cash. Like, it is debt to our city. And also, if we do use the Ultra Sports Center tax money to help fund the BMX, I'm not going to vote for the basketball courts regardless, because I think that project's out of control. But, if we plan on building those and funding this, it's a hard no for me across the board, because, at some point your borrowing power against your sales tax goes down, Mr. Sandy. So it's not infinite amounts of money. We have to be cautious. If we start over borrowing against our sales tax, then our bond rating is going to go down and Marine's going to be upset with us. So, there are consequences, and it's not an infinite amount of money. I'm just... An unpredictable. We still get it, but we don't know what it's going to bring in. I'm just saying that, and we're borrowing. It's debt. It's a liability against our city, and we should really be cautious about how far in debt we become, even if we have a plan to pay for it back. That's the way most responsible adults work.
Good idea.
So, thank you.
Ms. Berg.
Well, I'm hopeful we get good numbers back for the basketball court, but I guess I want to look to Marine on, do the numbers work out to consider BMX with that funding source, with basketball, et cetera?
Ms. Berg, President Sandy, members of the committee. So it's something that we'd have to look at. I've been a proponent of not using the 3/4% sales tax, anything other than the Ultra Sports Complex. So I haven't included those numbers with it. We do have a budget put together for the complex that shows the 100 million borrowing, 10 million use of cash in funding the total project. So any additional with that would just affect the budget available, I guess, and when you're also considering the hard court or what you're considering with that. I think maybe when you're speaking infinite, maybe not infinite dollars, but infinite in time frame. There's no sunset on the sales tax, so there is time on our side as that comes in. But we do have in our projection and our long-term look also capital related to the facilities and ongoing money used for future capital. And I don't want to forget the Alaris Center in that conversation too. We have ongoing capital needs there as well that we've projected in there. So we do have uses for the funds long-term that we've incorporated in there based on the funding package that was put in. With that said, if it were allowed, we could, a one-time funding, not an ongoing funding, would be exactly that impact. It would be whatever dollar amount we're talking tonight, that would be use of cash for that project.
Yes, Ms. Lunsky.
So I know I brought it up last time, but with the new courts addition, is there any possibility we could put bathrooms that are accessible from the outside as well as a concession in the new courts building for the BMX?
Council President Sandy and Councilmember Lunsky, we did talk about that. There would be that ability because you would have, if you can see my cursor here, there's going to be a corridor through here that would go to, this will be a corridor right here, would have ability to reach those bathrooms. But I think the more that I've gone out there and looked at the Red River BMX and the Hugo's Raceway and how they use that facility, I think that'll be a helpful thing for their events, kind of an addition. But I think with how everyone kind of surrounds the track in this area and walking across kind of a roadway, I do think for outdoor events that concession, restroom, storage area is really a beneficial thing to have on the site itself, from how I see the flow of everything. Not to say that I think the Ultra Sports Complex, when I look out there, will add a really significant amenity, but I think when you're at an event, you want to be in and around where the event is, especially when I walked around there, you have lots of small children, waiting, either racing or waiting for their brother and sister. It just seems like you'd want that close to where the families are.
I agree, it would be easier, but perhaps if it's not financially available, it could be an option.
Yeah, I think that it's a secondary option, there's no doubt. I think what we're trying to do here is, it's true to say in this case, when we imagine what we could do to help incorporate Red River BMX into this, is it is a really good facility that really melts well with the overall complex. And so it's really going to finish it off well. So we didn't request that they go halfway, but kind of what would you need to really be effective over the next 20 plus years, and that's what we did ask for. And maybe there'll be future discussion on this Ultra Sports Complex sales tax and Alaris sales tax. But I think the facility itself, if we had modeled this facility so that we want to serve this direction with restrooms and all those things, when I think about that 3/4 sales tax, you would have had additional expenses here. And the way that we're proposing it here, I think is probably less expensive because it's more built in a situation that's seasonal as opposed to a higher square foot investment in the facility itself. And I don't know if Maureen and you and your team have had an opportunity, we were talking about this afternoon, looking at Fund 2163 with some proposed changes that were brought up previous, and this one, kind of a sense of what that 6-year generally looks like, and maybe in anticipation of next week, Monday.
Yes, Todd, so we were looking at a few scenarios, and I think maybe direction from City Council on, how to proceed with the different moving parts and bringing forward a better plan for Monday. As we spoke about, there's certain things that do roll off where we could look at a plan where we pay back another fund too, when certain things roll off of 2163, but really just looking for, which are the highest, what rises to the top of those priorities that you would like to have considered in Fund 2163, so we can look at those scenarios.
I'll go back to it. I would like to see us use the sales tax for the Turf and Aquatic Center to cover this cost. However, if it comes back that, I don't know at what point we'll actually have a formal answer. So perhaps we move forward with 2163 with the caveat that when we have the reassurance that we're not doing anything we shouldn't, then we could actually swap and move forward with the Turf and Aquatic Center sales tax funding for the facility. How's that sound to anyone? Everyone's kind of nodding their head. Even Rebecca, she told me that if we didn't do the basketball court, she'd be happy to vote and support everything else, so.
Yeah, I haven't seen you guys vote against the basketball courts yet, so come on. I mean, that's $24 million.
Right, okay, well, so we're trying to
And then we'll have lots.
We'd like you to vote in advance.
I mean, not that I think I think without that, we're within budget, but, we might have a little wiggle room then with that.
Right. Okay. Do you need an actual vote or just?
If we could get a recommendation. Again, I added the dollar amount up. Right now, their upper cap limit would be $650,000 for those three priorities that I discussed. It'd be on a reimbursable basis. Right now, we proposed Fund 2163, and if we can use the 3/4 cent sales tax, that could be reimbursed later. But that's the upper limit at this point in time.
Mr. Roy?
I was just going to add one thing. I got involved in BMX 5 years ago when my son, we happened to bring him out to get him involved. I raced as a kid growing up. That's when the track was located at River City Speedway, just off of turns 1 and 2. When I raced nearly 25 years ago, they charged $7 a night. And I remember my mom would always give me a 10 because then I could pay for racing and I could get a Powerade and one of those licorice ropes. That's what I remember. And I remember Miranda being there as well. The track only charges $10 a race night, 25 years later. We have opportunities for kids that may not be able to afford it. We cover their membership. We've had sponsors ask, hey, if you need we want to sponsor a kid to put a membership out there for them so they can race all year long for free. We utilize every penny that we have on improving that facility. We work with local contractors to get it done. We work with everything that we have in order to have one of the nicest facilities. We hosted a national last year that brought riders from 32 different states into Grand Forks that normally wouldn't have visited. We host whatever regional events that we can get from USA BMX, and we've been doing that since 1996. So years upon years of bringing people into the community. And so I think we have to remember that not every kid is a stick and ball sport kind of kid. Not every kid wants to be on a team sport. And this gives them an opportunity to go out and do something that's different maybe from what they're traditionally used to doing or thinking of in sports. And our membership has grown. I think Miranda and Mr. Brandon got on the board around the same time. Our first year involved, we had 24 new memberships. Year 2, it went to 54. Last year was 120. Now we're in the 50s, about halfway through the season. And so it's continuing to grow in Grand Forks. We have families that didn't know it existed that still come out. We have people that walk through the parking lot and said, hey, I wish the community that I grew up in had something like this for me when I was young. And so it's something that's growing. It's something that's heavily utilized. And I think it's a good investment for the city based on the number of people that are continuing to come in for these regional and national events when we do get those. So I'm obviously supportive. I'm supportive of the turf facility because I believe that kids need a place where they can be active in sports. I think it's healthy for them, and I think there's a lot of benefits, both socially and emotionally, to be involved in a lot of these activities. And so the more we can push youth sporting events forward, I think the better off we are as a community.
Mr. Sandy?
Yes, Mr. Veen.
A couple of items I was thinking of as we've been talking here. We talked about, having skin in the game. And I wonder if one of the things we could think about is putting out some type of a challenge grant that would require a match. And that we would identify a certain amount, and it would be contingent on the match, and have them go out and work to raise the money to meet that challenge. Just a thought for something to think about, so that definitely we all have skin in the game. And then my other earlier concern was the need to compete, with 2163 funds. Because I do not support the event center sales tax. For me, if it is legal or not, I think it's not what we told the voters, and I think that needs to remain the way that it is. It's hard for me to vote up or down at this point because I'd like to see the numbers that they talked about bringing back next week. I would like to see that. So no matter which way I vote today, I think the intent is to see the numbers before I make a final decision.
Can I add one more thing?
Thank you, Mr. Bean. Yes, Mr. Weigel?
I've heard the skin in the game talked about a lot, and a challenge grant. I think what's important is we are coming after the fact, after we've built a facility, after we've professionally contracted a track developer, after we've done all these things. We're coming in at the end. We didn't come to the city prior and say, hey, this is what we want to build. Can we get that money up front? I think we've built a lot with what we've had, and I think we've proven to everybody that we do have skin in the game. Both physically skin in the game, because I've probably lost a little bit out there myself from working along with a lot of other people, but also the amount of investment that we have put in. And so I want to make that clear that we have put a ton of financial backing behind this so far to date.
Ms. Byrd?
I'm interested in moving forward, but I want to make it clear that if we don't fund the arts and human needs, I'm not going to be able to support this moving forward. But I would like to see us continue to move forward to learn more about what that's going to cost. And so I will motion to approve the up to 65 investment, $650,000 investment, I think is what was mentioned.
Is there a second? Second by Lunsky.
Council President Sandy, we would, I presume that would be out of Fund 2163.
Yes.
Ms. Dorsten, the sales tax, 3/4 cent sales tax. Right now, we're gonna bond $90 million. And if we add on other facilities or whatever, we'll bond for more than 90. But let's just say we're bonding for $90 million today. What terms are the $90 million do you think we're gonna get? Like, how many years are we going to be bonding to repay the $90 million?
So President Sandy, members of the committee, our plan is to actually bond 100 million. We have that figured at 30-year. We were fortunate enough on this temporary time period through construction to get 3.54%, I think was the rate. I think on the 30-year, we're estimating more like 5 to 6% is what we're estimating in our projection.
Sure.
I was looking at, Todd had brought up scenarios, and we had been running some scenarios. And just for your information, if one of the scenarios we had run is with the arts and the human needs components back in there. So what I project out to the end of our 6-year time period, 2031, before the mayor's budget had been 3.287 million at the end of the 6-year. If we add back arts and human needs, I show, and that's at that $159,000 level, that brings that to 1.254 at the end of the 6-year. So then the 650 would be about the 600,000 back, or so that's how the 2163 looks. If you have an annual amount of that 159 for the arts and human needs and the BMX, that's the difference from the mayor's proposed budget to adding those in. So if that helps in your decision.
So, Ms. Thorstad, going back to our bonding, okay, we're going to bond for $100 million over 30 years. 3/4 cent sales tax in 30 years. About how much revenue do you think we're going to be bringing in?
So we're estimating that bond payment, roughly $6.5 million. We do estimate sales tax to be coming in at, I think at that time, we're estimating about $12 million. So we do have that, proportion for
built in, yeah.
capital and
Yep.
reserve. Yep, so
Great.
that's your difference between the
Sure,
bond payment
but
and the sales.
30 years from now, we'll have $13 million a year revenue that under the scenario city administration is telling us, the only place we can spend that money is on the facility we're building or the Alerus Center. Plus, we're already withholding some of the dollars from the sales tax for maintenance of the Alerus Center. That's already factored in. Right?
For capital maintenance, yes.
For capital maintenance, right. So what are we going to do with all this money?
We actually project that we use the money because of the ongoing large capital, but it's just, who can say what we're going to have 30 years from now? So
Right,
I think we
but-
just have to look at it annually and go ahead.
I'm sorry, you're telling me that even though we can cash flow and make payments on $100 million over 30 year, that year 31, even, we also have, we know that built into the sales tax, we're covering the capital maintenance of the Alerus Center. I recognize that there's upgrades, it cost $9 million to put on a new roof. Was it 9 or 11? I can't remember. It was a whole bunch of money. My point is, though, that there should be a significant surplus of cash.
And I certainly hope so. I believe our projections are conservative. We've tried to put on, additional onto what the CIP is, look at our 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, capital needs with both those facilities. But we do have, I think, a healthy plan going forward. Of course, it's always contingent on that sales tax growing as projected at 3%.
Okay, I guess where I feel like we're not stretching ourselves to add these facilities today. It is not a stretch. I don't think personally. Anyway, all right.
Council President.
Yes, sir.
I could add one. Likely, on behalf of the mayor, we're talking about using alternative funds as part of the mayor's budget. He was reducing the allocation to economic development and putting it more into public safety, we'll call it general fund, and into streets. We would likely look at that allocation just to balance things out. So that would be another thing that we'd have to look at, and how that impacts street infrastructure, how that impacts the general fund with public safety. And so we'd run some different models to show how we can smooth things out.
Great. There's a motion and a second on the floor. Anyone else want to bloviate today? No. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. Osowski dissents. Thank you. Item 310, update on the Children's Museum. Thank you, Mr. Phelan.
Thank you, Council President Sandy. We have our next request and next update, which is exciting, is the Children's Museum, and I know they got a team here, and looks like Miss Katie Myers here, and Mr. Reichert's here, Mr. Opp, and Miss Miscavige. So they're going to come up and give you an update and have a additional conversation with you this evening. So with that, I'd hand it over to him to see who's going to lead the presentation.
Mr. Reichert, Ms. Mayor, thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you. Alex Reichert, 625 Reeves Drive. We're here to give you guys an update and also to thank you for what you have done there. In no small part, the city has made this Children's Museum a reality. I mean, you really have done that, and we just really want to thank you for that. We're also here to give you an update on where we're at, and most importantly, timing for where we're at. There is construction going on, and we would like to get in the ground this fall, the same time as the aquatic center, so that these can go in parallel. There are a lot of advantages, excuse me, to doing it that way. And Katie now can give you sort of the overview of where we're at and just kind of let you know where your project is. Because, I mean, really, this is your project. I mean, we are a volunteer board that were put together to bring this thing to fruition. But at the end of the day, it's Grand Forks's. And it's really going to, I think, continue on this excitement that we have. I am so excited to live in Grand Forks right now. It is amazing. And that is because of you guys. So thank you, thank you. All right, go ahead, Katie.
Yes. Thank you, President Sandy and members of the committee. We are grateful that you are having us up here tonight to take up your time. We'll be short and sweet. But thank you for this being behind this project and the investment you made and your leadership behind it. So a little update here. The city does remain our largest fundraiser or funder behind it with $10 million in support. And we really, whoops, I'm jumping too far, way too far, too fast. So we wouldn't be here without you. So to echo what Alex has said, just thank you so much for your commitment to supporting us. The project update here, we are making progress, and that's only thanks to our wide base of support. We have the architects and the exhibit teams working together, they're engaged, as well as many community members through our committees that we have. We have a lot of committees that take a lot of time, meet, and do a lot of work on the side. They're not paid, they're volunteers. We've raised over $27 million to date, with only $13.6 million left to go to achieve the goal to make this project happen. So again, that wouldn't be possible without you guys, and there's the numbers up on the screen there. We're continuing to try to close that gap with funding, private funding, and also really scrutinizing our numbers and looking at where we're spending our money, being good stewards. I think I'm jumping ahead of myself a little bit. There's a lot to say. Fundraising realities that we have going on right now, the appetite for giving is out there. There's excitement, there's energy, but there's the hurdle of timing right now. We're hearing consistent excitement, but also caution. People don't know what to expect in our current environment, and we're actively seeking new donations and a lead donor. We're having some conversations with different businesses about being our lead donor and what that looks like, and continuing to work with a couple different people, hoping that an organization, business comes forward soon to take that naming opportunity, as we are sharing with potential donors that there's over 1 million cars that pass by right now in a year on that site, and that's only going to up with the BMX track and the sports complex and us being out there. It's a wonderful billboard, and I don't know who wouldn't want to be behind supporting, having their name on such a great facility as a children's museum. Let's see. Our team is working to accelerate the campaign with a variety of ideas and events. We're getting more individuals and businesses involved. We've created different fundraising campaigns to engage people of all ages. We've got kids investing by bringing in their little piggy banks. We started a high five campaign recently to get donors of all levels, no matter what they can give. No gift is too small, no gift is too large. So we're trying to engage everyone throughout the community and the region to be involved and own this project as well. As we look at controlling costs, our team, like I said, is scrutinizing every dollar while preserving the vision of the museum in order to be responsible stewards. We're exploring a variety of cost-saving measures. We're looking at the community momentum as well. Currently, we have over 700 donors with over 200 new gifts since October of 24, when we were last before you. We continue our outreach through the community and with regional events as well as school events. We have over 2,500 volunteer hours throughout over just the last year. This organization has been around more than a year, but just over the last year, over 2,500 volunteer hours between programming, events, board meetings, the board members, and all the committee member work that they do. Over 400 volunteers in the last year. We've done regional events in Hillsborough, Annetta, Thompson, and we're heading to Warren next fall. We're planning for our 4th annual Full Steam Ahead pop-up event, which has brought the proof of concept to the community that this is a needed facility in our region. We've done school events and STEAM events. We've been at area businesses, the Country Club, Altru Family Picnic, Sertoma 4th of July event, Art Fest. We'll be at the Street Fair again. We've collaborated with the Public Library at their events, the Live Grand Expo with the Housing Authority, the Hands-On Learning Fair, and the Farmers Market. And I know I'm not encompassing all of the events that we're doing, but we are out there and doing outreach. Excuse me. Charitable gaming. We brought that up. We've talked about it. We do currently have 2 sites up and running. A third is approved that will start in January, and with Rhombus guys coming on, if that fully gets approved, we'll be at our 4th site. And that will provide recurring revenue for us, and it will help with construction costs and getting the building up and running right now, and then long-term operational costs. So we are very grateful for the support that we have through charitable gaming. That is definitely helping our revenue. And here, right here, this is just a picture of why we are wanting to get this museum going. It will open the doors of wonder, creativity, and discovery for every child. STEAM education doesn't just teach skills, it shapes future. So we are shaping the future of our children and community members throughout. And we won't only touch children, we will also do programming for teens, adults, and ongoing throughout. So it's for all ages. Seeking a solution, we are working really hard to close this gap. Construction bids are extremely favorable right now. Delaying the project to get in the ground later would increase our costs. So breaking ground this fall allows us to stay on budget and schedule. And we're here tonight seeking help to finding a solution to secure the remaining funds needed to close the gap. So working together to come up with ideas and find a solution on how we can close the gap together to keep the momentum going and deliver on the promise of this project. And again, just thank you very much for all the support that you've given so far. We wouldn't be here without you, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. Any comments or questions? Anyone have any brilliant ideas? Yes?
I have a question.
Lisa
We're not
Sosky.
voting on anything, though, tonight,
We're just here to
correct?
say thank you and give an update. We haven't been here since October, so we thought we'd come back
Okay,
around.
okay,
We've made some
great. So
progress.
we're
Unless you want to bring up something you want to vote on.
Unless you'd like to, we'd love it.
No, sir, I don't want to vote on anything. I appreciate you guys really trying to fundraise on your own. I think that's very helpful. So thank you very much.
Ms. Bird, comment?
Do you guys know when you're going to have the next TAG event?
TAG is a separate organization, but that is coming up September 19th, I believe.
Right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know in the past they have donated proceeds to
Yes,
you
They
guys.
have- yes, TAG is
does give us
donating.
money.
Yes.
For art and other things inside the museum.
Yeah.
When is the next tag event, though?
September 19th?
Oh, great.
September 19th. And then right after that, we'll start setting up for the next Full Steam Ahead as well.
Mhm.
And
we are-
thank you to the
yeah.
curling club for allowing us to host the STEAM event, which I think also speaks to, when you have a community building, all the other things that you can use it for, and that's going to be a huge advantage of this children's museum. It's got some great community space where we can continue to do the great things we're doing and just expand that.
Swagel, any thoughts?
I think the thing that I appreciate the most and understand how difficult it is being a volunteer organization. You're not doing it for a paycheck. You're not doing it for any financial gain. You're doing it because you believe in what you're doing. You believe in the mission of the organization. I think that's something that sticks with me the most, is how much volunteer time goes into it, because it's something that's important. So just thank you for all the time that everybody's been putting in to get it as far as it has so far.
Yeah, Ms. Linsky?
I just want to say thank you. I think this is really important. Being in North Dakota, I think growing up here, there's so much sports pushed that I think having more art for kids, exposing them to art, giving them new opportunities, I think is an incredible opportunity. So as I don't have any great ideas right now, I think this is a very exciting for our community, so thank you.
Well, Ms. Linsky, thank you for that. And I just want to also just give you a little, when we started this, when we were approached to start this as a group, one of the things that drove this was sports events and tournaments and wonderful tournaments that bring in so much revenue to the city. I mean, having worked in the hospitality industry on the owner's side, sports events, BMX, basketball, they bring in an incredible amount of revenue. But what we were hearing is there's nothing else to do in Grand Forks. And that's a lot of the reason that this Children's Museum came together, was to help sporting events, to help youth tournaments, to be a draw to say, you know, we have things for your kids to do other than just go to Buffalo Wild Wings. You know, so thank you again.
I think, like, as a community, we need an organization to step up and be the naming sponsor. I mean, that's the fastest way to get this across the finish line, is to have some organization say they want their name on the facility, make a $7 million commitment over 10 years or whatever it is, and get their name on the building for however many years, and I think there are organizations and people in our community that have the capability of doing that. Unfortunately, I don't, or I would, but hopefully, when the Herald writes a great article about this tonight, their headline will be "Naming Sponsor Needed," and somebody,
You're absolutely right, yeah.
somebody will raise their hand and say, well, let's get it done. So, Ms. Osowski, did you have something else to add?
No, Mr. President,
No.
I don't.
Thank you.
And just one more point to that point, be able to save $3 to $5 million with this, I mean, as you've experienced, with
the
these
current climate.
contractors are looking for work right now, and we want to put them to work. So, thank you.
Yep. Thank you all for being here.
Council President Sandy Mayo, again, this is we take your lead, and I know they don't want to ask for anything this evening, but I think the moral of the story is they have a funding gap. Time is of the essence. And is the city council willing to consider future opportunities, whether it's with Mr. Gostad looking at, what can that 3/4 cent sales tax be used for? I think they're here because they have a funding gap. Time is fleeting. And is this city council interested in further options to help close the gap so that we can get this amenity completed sooner rather than later? So I think that's part of the discussion we are in. And as we look out over the next 6 years, whether it's with 2163 or the 3/4 cent sales tax or with Fund 5996, this is kind of the time, and when we go through the budget of, is there further interest in trying to get some of these projects done? So I know they didn't want to ask, but I'm saying I think they are looking for some feedback in that vein.
Well, I know Ms. Osowski's supportive as long as we don't build the basketball. Yeah, oh, I understand. Ms. Osowski, yes?
Actually, although I greatly appreciate what the Children's Museum is doing for our community, I do not support additional funding. We have given them land, we're doing infrastructure, we're doing parking lots, and we gave them $10 million. I think if they want anything more, I almost think it should be voted on by the citizens for how much money we are throwing into this nonprofit organization. I mean, I appreciate that they're doing their part, but we are the largest donor at this point to this facility, and that's initially, I don't think we intended on being, but with the amount of money that we already have vested, I disagree. And now you're talking about 2163. You want basketball hoops, we want BMX, we want beautification, we want human needs, we want children's museum. I mean, we haven't spent very much money tonight, but we're talking about a lot of money that would need to be added into the 2026 budget, and that is very concerning. I took a look at 2163, and if you look at how we've dwindled the cash balance of that account over the past couple of years, I think you guys should be a little concerned also, but that's just my personal opinion. So, thank you.
Mr. Weigel, thoughts?
I guess I never say no to anything right off the bat. I guess I'd be interested in options that the city has. I also do look at the Children's Museum. I do see it as an opportunity to bring additional people into Grand Forks. I see it as something that people are going to attend maybe while they are here for something else. And so I know that's something that Mr. Reichert asked or mentioned, so I think that's important, but I'd like to see options. I don't want to say no right away. I'd like to see what options we have for funding some of these things.
Ms. Lonsky?
I know we've talked about this many times, but can we again see what was voted on? The $100 million did not come from the vote, right? That's what we could afford to bond?
That's correct. You want to see the language?
Well, not right this second, I'll look it up, but.
Okay, yep. I can send it to you tonight.
Yeah, that'd be
too.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Health and wellness and athletics and exercise and fun.
all Dana's favorite activities.
Right? If it had cheeseburgers and beer, it'd be perfect.
I'll vote for that.
Yeah, Ms. Burke?
I'd fall in line with what Mr. Weigel expressed on being open to exploring what the possibilities are. And so I guess I don't know what type of motion you're looking for to continue that, or just hearing that.
Council President Sandy and Councilmember Burke, just getting some feedback, and we'll continue to work on it, but we just want to know if there's interest in exploring other options.
Thank you. I'd certainly would like to see this, get this across the finish line. I'd love to figure out how we could get a naming sponsor. There are all sorts of buildings and things named by organizations in and around our community. There has to be somebody or some organization that wants to put their name out there and have the 3 million cars drive by every day or whatever the number was, so. But yeah, certainly, I would be supportive of taking a look to see how we could help support them further. Is that all you need, Mr. Phelan? Anybody else? Ms. Osowski says she disagrees, but that's okay. She's welcome to her opinion. Anyone else have any thoughts for the good of the order? Okay, thank you. Moving on, council member discussion items. Ms. Osowski, anything for the good of the order
No,
tonight?
thank you, Mr. President.
Ms. Berg?
No, thank you.
Ms. Lunsky? No. Mr. Friedolfs?
No, thank you.
Mr. Veen?
Just very quickly, I thought what I thought was going to be a short meeting turned out to be much longer, but I think the value is we had great discussion on a number of items, and I think that was well done. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Veen. Vice President Weigel?
Nothing.
Great. Is there a motion
move
to adjourn?
adjournment.
Moved by Osowski, second by Berg. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned. Thank you.